Moving forward to the magnet recognition program and the 5 model components, the first is transformational leadership, because now we are in a modernized state of leadership, moving from where it was one person who had just sole authoritarian power to now more a team based shared governance. And that dynamic has been proven to be more effective because you're getting more irons in the fire instead of just a single person's opinions of how things should be done. Transformational leadership has the idea that leaders are now required to help transform their organization. And they must lead people in a way that meets future demands. To do this, they explain why the change is necessary and communicate this to their team. They explore the roles with their team. Here's your role. This is what is expected of you. Here's how we can achieve it. And they are very supportive in that dynamic too, because they want everybody to succeed together. A quality that must be in transformational leaders is they must be a good communicator. Good communication skills are invaluable. If you're a good speaker, people tend to gravitate towards you because your strength in that area is something that they may be lacking, or they be a little unsure of something and can tell that you're confident in your abilities to communicate. So they kind of gravitate towards you. But a big part of that is listening. I think to be a good communicator, you have to be a good listener. You have to let them know that they are being heard and understood, and that you appreciate their thoughts, and that you will consider them in your leadership process. The goal essentially for transformational leadership is that eventually leaders modeling this behavior will help transform others to model this behavior as well. And that influences them to adopt this style and that mission, that overall mission of transformation. It's not just problem solving anymore. It's more of transforming the environment to eliminate or reduce problems in the future. A strong statement that I read regarding the Magnet organization is that organizations often strive for stability. Their main goal is just stability. But however, in this type of reformation, it requires a controlled destabilization. I thought that was really strong, and I really like that statement, because even though you might be experiencing what feels like chaos, it's more controlled chaos, because it's fostering that opportunity to create new ideas. This is exactly the type of environment that new innovation comes from. So, with transformational leadership, nurse managers have that opportunity to create that controlled environment to allow their staff to seek out and find information that has yet to be discovered, and then mold that into what the future could be. So I really like the idea of transformational leadership and understand completely why that is one of the magnet model components. Organizations that adopt this seem to be more successful because they are innovative in themselves in adopting this leadership style. The second component in this model is structural empowerment. To have structural empowerment, staff must be developed, whether that's professional development, education, on the job experience, acclimated, just overall well acclimated to their organization and their expectations of them. They have a strong sense of direction, and that comes directly from strong leadership. So nurse leaders have to be comfortable and confident in their role for others to have a strong sense of direction. One of the main roles of a leader is to direct, to provide support. So in order for employees to have that, they have to have a strong leader, one who's decisive and one who knows that they can achieve direction. Empowerment. Leaders provide direction and empowerment. They foster innovation. They support. When employees have that sense of empowerment, they feel more comfortable and more safe in their practice and are therefore more productive, more efficient. It's not a one size fits all, but it does have to match the organization's mission, values, or goals, so that way it is successful. Moving forward to exemplary professional practice, this is truly understanding the role of a nurse, what your responsibilities are, adherence to scopes and standards of practice. At what level of nursing are you? What specialty of nursing are you? Do you have a specific role within your organization or team? Retaining competency. To retain competency, they must continue education and develop and use their skills. It's a use it or lose it kind of world. Depending on what specialty you are, obviously you're not going to hone every single nursing skill you've ever learned in that role. Nursing is too diverse for that. So instead, you have to focus on what your responsibilities are, and this is where the nurse manager comes in. They know the strengths. They can assess the strengths of each individual and know where their weaknesses are. They know their personality traits and know what can be improved and what is just not going to be one of their strong suits in contributing to the team. So based on understanding their staff, nurse managers can create a stronger team because they know what role, what person would serve which role to the best of their abilities. Knowing these scopes and standards of practice from the American Nurses Association and implementing that into practice, I think is very important. I will be the first to admit, kind of graduating from nursing school with your administrative associate's degree, you know the basic fundamentals of the A&Es and the scopes and standards of practice, but as you develop into your bachelor's and now I'm going for my master's, I have learned and to appreciate more the fundamental scopes and standards of practice and the more specific ones based upon what role you are trying to fulfill. I understand and appreciate the specifications that are tailored to each area of practice and why they are important. Because of this appreciation I have from, I understand as a nurse leader why it is important to incorporate this into your team. They need to understand and appreciate the importance of these fundamental standards as well. Evidence-based practices have to be constantly a focus for both nurse managers and the team, because evidence-based practices, whether they're either in place already or being developed, are always going to be important because they ensure that we are practicing competent care and relevant care. We don't want to use the same nursing practices that we did 10 years ago when there's a safer, more effective evidence-based practice that has been given to us. Applying these fundamental knowledges and practices to nursing and specifically to patients, families, communities, or even as a member of the interdisciplinary team is part of exemplifying that professional practice role. A strong statement that I found here was that more than establishing that exemplary professional practice is more than establishing a strong professional practice, but it's what you do with that professional practice and what you can achieve. I thought that was important because it's not just that, okay, yeah, you can do it, but what does that mean to you? What does that mean to your organization? What does that mean to your team? What can you achieve with that? It's a sense of like challenging to fully understand it, not just the going through the motions part of it. Moving forward now to new knowledge, innovation, and improvements. Strong leadership, empowered professionals, and exemplary practice, they are all essential parts of the bigger picture, but it's not the complete picture. Magnet organizations are required to contribute. So once again, we just spoke about, yes, you can do things, but what do you do with your knowledge? Do you apply it? So it's not just possessing a skill or knowledge, it's being able to apply it. Application is huge. So being able to contribute to that knowledge, contribute to innovation, creating new ideas that improve nursing and healthcare by developing evidence-based practices and increasing positive patient outcomes. These are the ending goals. That is what we are trying to achieve: is innovation and increasing the positive patient outcomes. Current systems need to be redesigned to achieve this, to be able to be successful in future healthcare. So right now it's kind of a redraft, revise, rebuild environment out there in nursing. That is what we are addressed with currently, is being able to understand where we are, how we can improve, and what we need to do to get there. The fifth model component for the magnet recognition program is empirical quality results. Currently, the focus is on structure and processes. They are assuming that we will have good outcomes, but there's no quantitative outcome requirements, which is kind of a problem because there's no benchmark data available to compare what practices are efficient, what are these best practices. So this is a big area that needs to change. In future, the steps will be starting with structure and process. That is just one step. We're glad that we can do that, but we have to do more. We need to ask questions to determine the factors that contribute to success. This takes the focus away from the process and puts it more on the impact coming from the process. We want to focus on those details more so than just the broader general picture. We need to become pioneers and find more than one way to achieve something. And then we need to compare it to what we've done and find out which is more effective, which is more innovative, which is more successful, which is safer, which is a higher quality. This is how we create evidence-based practices. And these future outcomes have been categorized to clinical outcomes that are related to nursing, workforce outcomes, patient outcomes, and organizational outcomes. These data that we obtain from these categories has to be analyzed to create benchmarks so that we have something to compare our care against and compare our practices against. Are we being efficient in our models, and in what ways we can improve? It's always never a complacent kind of mindset. We always need to understand that our best will never be enough. It needs to be better. And that's not a bad thing. That's just ways to inspire innovation and just keep the spark alive for education and drive. It helps motivate them, and that's always a good thing. To finish up this presentation, we're going to discuss how leaders can create these changes in the healthcare environment and how the leadership characteristics of Christ can be applied in our practice and displayed in nursing leadership. So I want to first start off with the characteristics of Christ, because that's going to tie into how I perceive that leaders can make a change in our current healthcare environment. Christ was always honest and open, and he valued everyone, not just himself. He was motivated by compassion and was forgiving. And these are all qualities that leaders need to possess, because if we can forgive error and not focus on mistake, we can lift our staff up to achieve and learn from any mistakes that they've made, to approach them as a learning moment, a teaching moment, not as focusing on the problem itself, but learn from what the results of were from that, what the consequences were from that mistake. And to fully understand that, I think, gives them a better turnaround to be able to develop professionally and want to develop professionally. If they can understand and appreciate the consequences of their actions better. Honesty is a transparency thing. I think that if leaders are more honest and transparent, it creates a better sense of trust. And trust is fundamental for any type of relationship, whether it's professional or personal. In our case, professional relationships have to have trust. having that trusting relationship and building upon that relationship with the staff encourages a more tight-knit community, a better functioning team, a more unanimous, united front, so to speak, whenever you're trying to accomplish something. So that, I think, is definitely an important quality for team dynamics. So as a leader, I think modeling that behavior of Christ is important, because we will never be like Christ. We will never be perfect, but all we can do is strive to be our best and model his values in leadership. And if we do that, we can help create that mimicking behavior, so to speak, that all of our staff and team members will see the importance of those qualities and therefore represent them and adopt those for their own practice, start to adopt those traits for themselves. Modeling these Christ-like qualities helps a leader to be more reachable, more relatable. And I think that those qualities exhibited by nurse leaders help in the efficacy of how they can instill change in their healthcare environments. Because if they are a relatable person, people are more likely to be responsive to that. So their team are going to listen. They're going to be engaged in that team dynamic and know that their leader has their best interests at heart and knows that they are a part of this team and that it's not just the leader above them, it's them working together to achieve these common goals. And that pretty much concludes my presentation for my nurse administration role. I hope that you have enjoyed it. I hope I haven't been too much of a distraction. And thank you.